Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about how to improve your balances. So I'm going to talk about everything from posture to alignment, weight placement technique, strength, because all of those things are involved in improving your balances, being able to hold them for longer. Now, I am by no means perfect at balancing. I don't think anyone is perfect at balancing because in the end you can always hold a balance for longer, so it's like a never-ending quest for better balance. However, I'd say that balancing is one of my more kind of strengths in ballet, so I really hope that me talking about this is going to be able to help some of you guys. So let's get straight into the video. Okay, so let's start with posture. Now obviously if you dance ballet you probably have pretty good posture anyway, but there are a lot of things that we need to think about which are small things but that actually make a big difference. So obviously if I'm standing like this, you guys know that it's really important to have your weight distributed evenly in both feet. Obviously my hips are over my two standing legs at the moment, my shoulders are back and down, my head is not up or down. So from the front, posture is pretty straightforward and pretty easy. The main thing you want to make sure of when you're looking at yourself from the front is that you're basically symmetrical. However, when we turn to the side, it's a totally different, more complicated story. So when I'm looking from the side, something that I used to do was I would have my head too far forward, and that prevented me from having my torso in the correct position, because I felt like I was already forward, but it was because it was just my head that was too far forward. So now what I've understood is that I need to kind of get my head not back but really on its center, and that's going to allow me to move my torso forward slightly but my head is not forward as well. So my head is still in line, but it just means that I can really extend this upper part of my back, which is something that I just didn't understand how to do for so long, and I was just trying to like tilt my whole torso forward, but that's not going to work. And I can tell you because I've been trying to do it for years with no results, and that is why. What we want to think about from the side is the hips over the standing legs, not too far forward and certainly not back. We don't want the weight in the heels. Your weight should be towards the front of your feet. Obviously I'm not standing in a ballet position right now, but just to show you in general the posture. Then we want obviously to elongate the spine. Now I don't want to completely be tucking under, and I also definitely don't want this. I don't want to accentuate that curve in any way. I want to be trying to lengthen this out but without pushing forward. So this is elongating, and then at the same time I'm keeping my head in line and I'm allowing this part of my back to close a little bit so that I can really elongate like that. I hope you can see. So it's so important to maintain that posture throughout ballet. Obviously there are moments when it's going to change slightly, for example especially if we're doing something with the leg to the back or an arabesque, and we are going to come slightly more forward with the torso, but in general that's the kind of posture we want to be thinking about. So let me come to first position now. When it comes to weight placement on two legs, it's pretty self-explanatory, kind of the same as when we're in parallel. However, when we come onto one leg now, I need to shift my weight towards the supporting leg. However, I don't want to be sinking down. I don't know if you can see the difference there. I want to still be pulling up but have my weight over the supporting leg. That is absolutely essential for balancing. If you're falling, like this is me relaxed, and I can stay very, very easily on one leg relaxed at the moment, but when it comes to being on releve or on point, that's going to become much more difficult. So it's really important to be pulling up all the time, having this sensation of pulling out of that hip. And again, making sure all the rest of the torso and head is also aligned. So let's move on to talking about balancing on a releve, because although this is great on a flat foot and we do sometimes do things like promenades and things, a lot of the time, especially in ballet, we're on either demi-point or obviously full point if you've got your point shoes on. So as I was saying before when I was talking about the posture, about having your weight slightly forward, unless you have absolutely perfect 180-degree turnout, which most adult ballet dancers don't have because you really needed to have been training while you were growing to have been able to get that perfect turnout. Most of us are going to have the balls of our feet slightly in front of the heels. So that means that when I releve, I'm not keeping my torso exactly where it is. It needs to come with me and it needs to move forward slightly as well, because my weight has now moved slightly forward. Does that make sense? So it's not about keeping my body exactly where it is and then releving, I'm going to be back, you see? So if I don't have perfect 180-degree turnout, I need to think when I releve that I'm moving slightly forward. That's going to really help in finding your center. So let me show you from the side. I'm going to close my first position a little bit. I mean, I can turn out a bit more than this, but just to show you what I mean. So from here, here's my first position on flat foot. Here's my first position on releve. So did you see that I went slightly forward there? And obviously that's going to be the same on one foot as well. It doesn't matter if it's 1 foot or 2 feet. So I'm going to make sure that this is straight, so there's none of this. That's not going to be helpful, but this is also not going to be helpful. I'm not going to be able to pirouette like that later. So making sure that I'm in a completely straight line, but that my weight is completely over the toes of the supporting foot, and then I should be able to balance. So something else that you need to think about in terms of weight placement is getting there as soon as possible. So for example, if I'm stepping onto an arabesque, I don't want to be coming up and leaving my weight behind. My weight should already be here, and then I can hold the balance. The longer I take to find my centre and get onto my centre, the harder it's going to be to balance. So I really need to think about pushing off this leg and getting right on to my arabesque as soon as possible. And then I should be able to hold it. It's the same thing when you're going to be doing a pirouette. So for example, I'm here, my weight at the moment is in the middle of my 2 feet, so it's right dead centre. As soon as I'm going to come up to the pirouette position, I need to be shifting my weight, not only forward if I'm doing an undo or pirouette, but also slightly to this side because that's where the ball of my foot is. I'm not coming just forward because the ball of my foot is this way. So I need to come here, and then I can balance. So now let's talk about strength, because balancing is not only about your posture, your alignment and your weight placement, but it's also about your strength and your technique. And the reason that I'm going to talk about strength and technique together is because obviously you guys know all about turnout. If you're wondering about tips for improving turnout, I'll link my turnout video in the description box. You can also go and watch that one. But I'm not going to go into detail about turnout now, but obviously we need to learn to balance in turnout. And if every single time I step onto an arabesque like this, and that foot is completely turned in, even though this leg is turned out, I'm not building the strength to be able to balance in a turned out position. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is why you really, really need to think about turning out if you want to then be able to balance in a turned out position. I know it's easier to balance in parallel for a lot of us because our parallel muscles are usually stronger as adult ballet dancers unless you've been dancing ballet for a very, very long time. So you really have to force yourself, especially at the bar is a really good place to think about it, to every time you're going to step up, making sure that that supporting leg is turned out. Don't be tempted to do this. Yes, this looks great, this leg's still turned out, but this leg's turned in. And it's the same for any position, an attitude, a retire. So if it's a retire, for example, I need to be focusing on building the strength here and with my turnout so that I'm able to balance here. If I'm only ever doing this, yes, again, this working leg is turned out, but the supporting leg is not. So really think about that, because when it comes to balances, strength and technique really go together, and if you're not using the right technique, you're not going to be building strength in the right muscles. That's just how it goes. So having said that, how do we build strength for balances? And really the answer is by practicing balances, and I wish there was like an easier or a quicker way to do it, but that is just how it is. So just think, every time that you finish an exercise with a releve, for example at the bar it's quite common, I don't know, maybe you just finish rond de jambes or something and the teacher will say, and balance. Test yourself, really push yourself, and if you're going to come down, take the bar again, recenter yourself, try again. Test yourself. If you're too far forward, are you too far back? Keep testing yourself and really correct yourself. If you feel like you're going to come down, try and correct it. Can you come back to your center? That's the way that you're going to improve your strength to hold the balances. I fall out of balances all the time, and the only way that I kind of get back and get better is by forcing myself that if I fall out of a balance, or if I like hold on to the bar again or something, I just force myself to do it again and again and again until I can hold it for longer. So obviously, as well as being about strength in the legs and things, balance is very, very much about the torso. So doing some extra ab workouts is really going to help, and focusing not only on pulling up out of your supporting leg, pulling up out of this hip, but also really engaging all of your core and making sure that your upper torso is helping you as well by being compact. So that's it, guys. I really hope this video was helpful, that it's kind of made you think about some of the aspects maybe of your dancing which you could work on in order to improve your balances. And as I said, it is quite a lot about self-discipline and just forcing yourself to try again and hold it for longer and squeeze your muscles more and squeeze your abs, and eventually you're going to find that you're able to hold balances for longer and longer and longer. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Remember, if you're not subscribed, you can subscribe so that you won't miss any of my videos on here. Also, if you like my new leotard, which I designed myself, then I'm going to leave all the details about it in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!